Hello, my name is Deanna Johnston, and I'm an HCM consultant at IM HCM Consulting. Welcome to another edition of HCM Bites. Today, we're going to be talking about arrearage methods, including where you set them up in the PDBA setup and where to review arrearages on pay stubs and PDBA history. An arrearage occurs when the payroll system cannot deduct an amount from the employee's pay because the employee did not earn enough to pay for the deduction. Some examples of this might be FMLA, or military leave, when the employee isn't being paid, but there might be some deductions that you need to collect on later, such as medical or dental. So the system takes the deduction amounts and puts them into arrearages, which are stored in the F06-146 Transaction History Summary. The arrearage method that you set up in PDBA Setup determines if arrearages are taken and how the system collects the amounts back. Some of the more common arrearage methods are N, for do not reduce at all, P, do a partial or full deduction as needed, and this is actually the default. F is do a full reduction or none at all, and then there's some others such as H, which is the same code as F, do a full reduction or none at all, but in addition, you place the amount in arrears and apply the limits when collecting the arrearages. So for example, you can put a limit in the advanced DBA information screen for each pay period, for example, and when the system goes back to collect the arrearages, it will only take up to that limit amount. This is handy if you don't want to take a whole bunch of money out of a paycheck for one employee in one hit. Now let's jump into the system and I'll show you where you set up arrearage methods. We'll start with work with PDBAs in the P059116. Just start with any deduction DBA here and select into it. And when you're on the basic DBA information screen, go to Form GA Arrearage Info. This is where you can choose the arrearage method. It's important for you to know how you want your deductions to be set up prior to coming to this screen or prior to setup. For example, we're in a health insurance DBA, and so the company probably wants any health insurance DBAs to go into arrearages. So in this scenario, they've chosen P, a partial or full deduction as needed. Let's pop over to time entry and give employee Brad Pitt FMLA for 80 hours. Essentially, he's out for 2 weeks with no pay because the FMLA pay type is only tracking hours. Now let's go to the pay cycle workbench and pull Brad Pitt through a payroll. Best practice every time you run pre-payroll is to go to row pre-payroll review messages. Here we're going to see an employee deduction arreared message, basically warning us that an employee in our payroll has had arrearages taken. We can select into it to see the details. So here we can see that Brad Pitt has been pulled in. He's got 2 DBAs on the screen, and you can see that one of them has had an arrearage taken. The other says the gross pay should have been $750, but it actually didn't take arrearages. This is all controlled from the PDBA setup screen and how you want your DBAs to work with arrearages. Now let's go back out and review payment review. First thing you're going to notice is that nobody's showing up in the work with employee payment review screen. But that's because we're looking at payments with gross or net amounts, and Brad Pitt didn't have any gross or net amount. So make sure you change the radio button to all payments. Now we'll see Brad Pitt show up on this screen with 80 hours, but no deductions, no taxes withheld, no gross or net pay. Let's go ahead and select into his record. Now Brad Pitt is enrolled. He just enrolled in medical and dental and STD. But because he wasn't paid, none of this is showing up in history. You can see that There's no gross wages and there's no tax information. His deductions and net pay are 0. This is correct. Now to see exactly what went to arrearages from this screen, you need to go to Form DBA Detail. On this screen, we can see that 4002, which is the medical employee deduction, was supposed to take 150 and did not. Instead, the 150 went to amount arreared. You can see that no dental was actually taken. This is actually the benefit that the company pays, which was taken appropriately. But the dental that Brad Pitt is enrolled in didn't actually do anything because it's not set up to go to arrearages. To actually review any arrearages to an employee, you can go to the P079951 PDBA history. Let's go to Brad Pitt's PDBA history for that 4002. We're going to pretend like we already ran him through final update. And then if you come out here and select into this record, we're going to notice the arrearage amount is down here in the bottom right corner. Because for this July payroll, it didn't actually take anything, and it sent it to arrearages. Now, the next time Brad Pitt is paid, depending on the arrearage methods you've chosen, the system will attempt to collect back either the full arrearage amount of 150 or a partial amount. And there you have it, a simple overview of arrearage methods, including where to set them up, where to review them in payroll, and where to see the history. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button, leave us a comment, or share with your friends. If you'd like to learn more about our consulting services, visit us at www.imhcmconsulting.com.